How's it going, everybody? I wanted to do a video that would help to walk you through the process of setting up a translation project within Adobe Audition. This is for the Today with God project. I apologize that my voice is I'm somewhat under the weather, so please bear with me. I want to walk you through this whole process, and I'll try not to cough and sniffle and all of that, so that you can get this as pleasantly as possible. So before I get going, I want to point out that I am using a headset mic. Now, there's many computers have a microphone built within. This microphone that I have right now, it's just a simple headset microphone. It is used for like answering phones and stuff like that, but it certainly works for what we're needing to do. It places the microphone very close to the mouth, or an inch or two away, and then it isolates out the listening side of things into headphones so that the speakers of the computer don't bleed into the microphone. So I encourage you, if you don't have one, you can pick one up at any Walmart, um, and so it should be pretty easy for you to get a hold of. Also, I have a external flash drive plugged in. I'm using a SanDisk Ultra 32 gigabyte, a USB 3.0 flash drive, USB 3.0 flash drive, and I'm going to do the entire project that I'm going to show you on this flash drive. And if you have a USB 3.0 port on your computer, that's going to be the one that you want to work with. If you try to do all of your stuff on the internal storage of your computer, you can possibly fill that up quickly and maybe run into some problems. And if you try to do it on a USB 2.0 device, you'll probably end up running into some slow times and processing, and it just won't work as well. If you don't know if your computer has a USB 3.0, you'll see a difference between 3.0 and 2.0 USB because it's blue. The edge of the USB cable is blue most of the time. Sometimes you'll see this little symbol here. It's got a SS and like a little USB sign that goes with it. And so you'll want to see a blue would be the best. That helps you to know, but sometimes it's just got this SS. And you'll see that if it's a cable on the other end, it might look like this. But on your computer, it's going to look like this. And if you look on a computer that doesn't have a USB 3.0, you'll see it'll look more like this. Let me scroll down here real quick and see if we see one. So this is an example on the computer itself with the blue, just a little blue line. Here's a better one where it shows no blue line and a blue line. So USB will work there and USB 3 will work there, but you want to make sure that you're using a USB 3.0 if at all possible. That will truly help you out. And so if you have that, great. I want to real quick, if you did not get a chance to see the script breakdown, you can see that on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/ this is going to be a little bit funny. My my YouTube name is Scrapper24, and that'll bring you to Joshua D. Weiss. And if you go to the videos there, you can see it here, but in case it's not so recent,
all right,
this video right here. And it's a rather long video, but it kind of walks you through the entire script explanation, and you'll want to make sure that you go through this video first if you have not, because it will be helpful in moving forward. Just at the onset of this, I figured maybe it'd be good for if you're wanting to get in touch with me. You can do so Twitter. It's twitter.com / Joshua D. Weiss 1 and the number 1. On Facebook, it's facebook.com / Joshua D. Weiss. On LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com/in/ you guessed it, Joshua D. Weiss. If you send me an invite, make sure that you put a note to let me know that you're part of the translation group. On Instagram, this is where I post most of my photography stuff. It's Joshua D. Weiss. I'd love for you to come and follow me here. It's predominantly photographs and stuff along those lines, as is most of Instagram. And then if you would like to go to just a regular blog, joshuadweiss.com. I have not posted there recently, but I plan to pick it back up soon. So, and for some reason that didn't work. So get in touch with me if you want to get a hold of me by email. You can email me josh@crosstalk.org. josh@crosstalk.org. So with that, I'm going to go through and show you what's on this flash drive, because the flash drive is kind of some of the initial important stuff. I've titled the flash drive Hoy con Dios, Today with God. This specific video is being done for my friends down in the southern part of Mexico in Chiapas, and so they're going to be using Spanish as a source language for the translation of the Today with God project. If you open up this specific flash drive, I have several folders here. It's important that we keep all of this somewhat organized, because as your project builds and gets larger and larger, and you have more and more languages or actors and actresses participating, the files can get somewhat crazy and a little bit hard to follow. And so try and keep it as organized as you can. In case you didn't already have this on your computer, I do have the Adobe Audition here, and that's the software that I'm going to be using. That's the one that we've got licensed, and so I know there's obviously many newer versions of Adobe Audition, but this is the one that we're using for this application. The curriculum is not so important on the onset of this video, but when you get a little bit further along and you get your stuff translated, we have lessons, teaching curriculums for, this is 4 lessons broken down for the Today with God, Who is Jesus video, and you can go and explore that some. If you're going to use that, I'd love to know about it. Some graphics. Once you get a little further along, let's say you want to make some DVD labels and things of that nature. Save all translation files. Now, right now, if I open this, it's completely empty, and that's because I'm going to walk you through the process of actually putting it all together, and you'll see what this looks like after we get going. This is going to be where I save all of the different files within Adobe Audition so that it's nice and clean. The scripts, as well as that video that was on YouTube, I've included it on this flash drive, and you will see all of the different scripts for this particular project. I'm going to be going through Who is Jesus. I'm going to be going through Who is Jesus, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you can kind of see some of this stuff. I explained all of this in that video, so I won't go through it again. Then, Spanish videos. Now, this is not just Who is Jesus. These are Spanish exports of various clips from the Gospel of John, Today with God series, as well as the Who is Jesus. Now, this does not follow the exact format of the Who is Jesus that we're going to be watching or working through with Audition. This is broken down into different segments. This is broken down like this so that it can be used with, in evangelism or as illustrations. Each of the individual stories from the book of John, each segment from Today with God, is broken up by parable and a little bit more bite size in nature rather than trying to do the entire chapter or multiple chapters. And same thing here. This is broken down into 4, 5, 6-minute videos instead of 1 hour-long video. Today with God, Who is Jesus segments English. This is the same thing. This is from the curriculum. This is the English versions from the curriculum itself. So you go to the curriculum English curriculum, and within the curriculum, it will tell you, now we're going to play video 1 or segment 4, whatever it might be. Well, those videos are all within the Today with God, TWG, English Who is Jesus segments. Then there's Who is Jesus videos. Now, these are just the source videos of the entire project of Who is Jesus. Those are each hour long. You'll notice that there's 3 versions of it. English is the full English version, the way it was broadcast on television here in the United States. M&E stands for music and effects. This version will have all of the English on screen, so sometimes there's a lower third graphic that might come up on the screen. Well, that's in English on an English version. However, the audio of any English speaking has been taken out of this video clip. All that is left is English on screen and music and effects. So any music beds or sound effects throughout the program, that is on that clip. The Who is Jesus No English stands for just that, no English. So it still has the music and effects, but the English that would be on the visual side of the screen has been stripped out as well. And the purpose for this video would be if somebody wanted to do a true language translation version of Who is Jesus with no English on screen or in audio, this would be the one they would use. The majority of people have been using the M&E version and just leaving the English on screen as is. So that's the entire flash drive. I'm going to go ahead and just minimize that so we've got it there for later. We've got the script here. And now I'm going to open up Adobe Audition. I have set this to be exactly the way it would be when you open yours up. So there's no presets that I've done in here or any kind of fancy stuff. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to just explain briefly what the different segments and windows are for Adobe Audition 3.0. And again, I'm doing this in light of the purpose of what we're doing the video for, Today with God. So at the top, you've got your normal files, your normal drop-down menus and stuff. This here, edit, multi-track, or CD. These are 3 preset windows within Audition. So if I go to multi-track, which is where we're at, you're going to see several different tracks or layers of potential audio that could be in there. Now, since nothing's been loaded, it's empty. And you can scroll down on the right here. Over here, you can scroll down and see other layers that are just preloaded into the multi-track. If there was a video clip here or an audio clip here, and I wanted to edit that audio clip independently of the multi-track, that would be done in the edit window. So this is going to be for a single clip of audio, a single track, whether it be stereo or mono. You're going to edit that or put effects possibly or tweak different things within the edit window. Then there's the CD window, and this was put in here so that when you're done with your multi-track or your individual tracks, you can load them to a playlist that will then be recorded to a audio CD. For these translation project videos, we won't be using the CD. We'll pretty much be using the multi-track for the majority of the time. On the left here, you'll see files. This is your file bin. This is where all of your files will be when you load files. We're going to be loading the Who is Jesus video files. I'm going to go ahead and do that for you right now. And so Who is Jesus videos, I'm just going to go ahead and load all 3 of those. You're seeing that it's extracting the audio because it's going to import the video and the audio as 2 separate files. And that's important as we get going, and you'll begin to understand why as we get a little bit further along. While that's continuing to import, the effects, this is something that if you click the effects, it's not going to do it while it's doing the project. It's got different options that you can throw in there for the different files. So sometimes there's preset things like if you want to amplify it with a specified amount, or take out a hiss or a buzz, or you want to put echo or reverb. These are kind of preset things. I don't recommend playing with this too much in here. Most of the time, if you're going to do this type of stuff, I personally enjoy doing it more in the edit track. You'll notice that now that we click edit, all of those files that are in our file bin here are showing up in the edit bin. So I'm going to click back on the files here. Then over here you've got your main tracks. On each track is very, very similar in nature. They're all basically the identical setup at the beginning, and as you start working through the project, you can make them unique from one another. You've got an M, an S, and an R. The M stands for mute. If you want to put a track of audio there and you don't want to hear it, which might end up being the case at some point, so I can mute that, and that track is no longer being heard. But if you still want to hear the ones below it, they're still being heard. You can always see what's being, how much you're hearing of the levels in this little levels meter. Then you've got solo. So let's say you've got all these tracks. Solo is going to allow you to just hear that. So it basically mutes everything else below it or above it and lets you just hear that. Record is going to open up this file initially, this window, and this is where you're going to go to the Save All Translation Files, and you're going to title that something specific. And ultimately what you're doing when you record is you're going to record your voice, which is kind of what the purpose of this whole project is. This here is a pan left or right. I'm sorry, that's a volume. And you're going to, most of the time it's best to keep this pretty steady for right now. Down the road, if you want to make some modifications to an overall track, you can, but for now, let's keep that steady. This is a pan, same thing. You're going to keep this steady. So if I go pan left or pan right, negative or positive, what you're basically saying is you want the audio to be in the right speaker or the right channel, the right ear, or the left. And we want it to be all in the center, at least for right now. If you can't get it exactly, you can always click on it and just type in and hit enter. This here is saying whether it's mono or stereo, and you can go through an audio setup if you want. This is the master, going to the main area. You can do different things here. I don't typically use this area, and I would, if you want to get into it, you can. There's going to be a lot of features within the software that are there, but not necessarily a big deal for you to worry about right now. Then over here, I messed with this a little while ago. You've got your navigation pane where you can pan or scroll to the right or left, or up or down. And what you're noticing there is when I click on it, I can click and drag it, but I can also extend or minimize it. And a second ago, if I clicked in the middle there, you saw it kind of was a little bit different because it highlighted it while I was trying to just adjust it and move it to the right or left. So if you go to the edge of it, you'll see that magnifying glass. That's going to be how you zoom in. And then to move it left and right, make sure you get your hand and then you can move it left or right. You can also do a plus or minus on your keyboard. Plus or minus on your keyboard, and that will zoom in or zoom out. Up here, this is another way to just go between the edit view, multi-track view, CD view. Those are the same things as over here. Sometimes you might end up getting confused with where you're at on your screen. Let's say you accidentally go somewhere. You could go, this is workspace. That's the same thing as window workspace. And so you can kind of just go back to your defaults here and get comfortable if you get lost. Up here you've got your general tools. You can add more tools up here if you want. Scrub is going to mean that you can actually click and drag, and you're going to be able to listen to it as you go. This is like a selection tool. If you don't have this tool, like with this tool, you can left click and you can click and drag. With this arrow tool, when you touch, that's just going to be touching where you are on your timeline. And if you'll notice, when I'm touching here, I'm actually adding dots. Those are called nodes, N-O-D-E-S. And that's not a huge problem, except you could end up clicking and dragging that. And what that's doing is that's doing that pan. So this here is going to be actually panned fully to the left or right if you start moving that. So it's really important that as you're doing things, you make sure that you're being cautious about it, because it's real easy to make a mistake. If you make a mistake and you happen to add a node, you can actually click that, hold your mouse button down, and just drag it completely off, and it'll go away. Another way is you could go to Edit. Well, I say Edit. Undo, which is also Control Z. Control Z. This is pretty universal. If you make a mistake, hit Control Z or go to Edit, Undo, and it will undo what you just did. At the edge of each of your clips, you'll notice that you can you get this little double line with two arrows that allows you to click and drag. You've got a line up at the top. This is your volume. You got a line in the middle. This is your panning left or right. And if you just click and drag, you're going to highlight that specific area if you're left clicking and dragging, if you're on this arrow tool. If you right click, then you can move it just like you would if you had this tool here. This is basically just a cursor. You know, you could choose a specific place. So I can touch anywhere on the timeline. It's just going to move my cursor there. This tool right here is pretty much the one that I stay on because it does the other things. You just have to get used to the way you have to click when you're using this specific tool. Down here, the session properties, that's not going to be a huge deal for you right now. That's going to be if you're trying to do things more with a specific music or in tempo or something that, you know, where you're trying to make sure everything's on the same beat. This can be important because it helps you to know the time frame. So if I select, let's say that I go drag this one here and zoom way in. Let's say I see this waveform. I can drag and see how long this is by just the selection area. So as I select different areas, that number is going to change. So this right here is 1.6 seconds. And that's helpful as you get going to know exactly how long of a time you have to work with a specific loop or amount of words that you're trying to translate. This is your zoom tools, and you can use that, or you can kind of do what I was talking about where you click and drag. The time is saying where you are on the timeline. And that's important because when we look at the script, if I look right here and I want to see Your Kingdom Come, that is at 11 minutes, 46 seconds, and 8 frames. So in Audition, I would go to 11 minutes, 46 seconds, and 8 frames. Now you can go there. I don't know how you can actually type it in. I'm pretty sure you can. I just don't know where right now. Let's see. 11, 46, 10. Nope. You can do that there, but not the way I did it. You'll notice that this has 3 numbers at the end. So they're going to the millisecond. Whereas the script right here, it goes to the tenths, or there's a hidden column here. There's another column that's hidden there, and that goes to the frames. So that's 8/10 of a second, or it's 15 frames. So whichever way works best on that, you can go with. And I'm pretty sure that you could change those settings to where right now it's saying minutes, seconds, and then decimals. You can change that and go to SMPTE, which is you would go 29.97 is frames. And so that would be where you would see the frames. So now it's 0.07. And so on the script, if you were to use the time frame with frames, it would say, the 0.15, 0.07, that would all match. But you can just right click. All I'm doing to get to that menu is I'm right clicking or hitting, nope, I'm just right clicking. Then over here, this is your transport stuff. Play, you can, if I'm in this, by the way, you'll notice whichever window pane I'm in, see how it's got an orange box outlining it. So if I'm in this window, you'll see it's outlined with the orange line. So if I hit play, it's going to play. But I could also or stop. I could also just hit space bar, and that'll start and stop. Now you'll notice though, if I hit the space bar, the yellow line stays in the same place by default. The white line is the transport playing what I'm listening to. If I hit stop, it goes back and now it's gone. If I hit play again, it's going to start back in the same place. Now you can go in and you can set some presets that when you hit stop, it stops where you actually stopped listening. Or you can just use that as an ongoing place to, this is a loop start. So you can always just hit stop and it's going to go back to the beginning. So there's benefit to both methods. And it's good to just know what you're using and why you're using it. Below at the bottom part of the screen, you're going to see your levels. Now, you don't want your levels to get all the way to 0. Ideally, you'll keep them between -6, maybe -3, but you don't want to get it too high. You also don't want to get it too low, because if it gets too low, that means that you're not having much of a signal. So right now, there's literally nothing in the file. And that's okay, because this would just be text at the time, or somebody speaking. All you're listening to in this particular clip up here anyway is music and effects. So that's just the music background. So that's the basic gist of what you're looking at when you first open up Adobe Audition. I would recommend coming in here to Preferences, Edit, Preferences, and we need to go through and set a couple things up. In the System folder, the first thing I always do is come up here and change the undo levels. And the reason for that is if you end up getting pretty far down a project and you made a mistake and you want to go back, the default is that you can only go back 5 times, but sometimes that's not nearly enough. Well, I like to set that pretty high. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in as 100. Sometimes it won't let you go so high, but we're going to put that in as 100. The temporary folders, because I'm using my external the external floppy or flash drive as where I'm going to be saving my project, you can set that up. It's okay to leave it as your C drive or your main computer drive. It just kind of depends on how full your drive is, and making sure that you've got enough space. Colors don't matter. That's all preference. Display, again, it's somewhat preference and based on if you've got 1 screen, 2 screens. The data, again. Now the multi-track, this is going to be the recording bit depth. 32-bit is totally fine. and you can actually go through and if you want to save some space, you can change some of this. I recommend going ahead and keeping it all pretty much the same as where it's at. The biggest thing that you want to make sure that you do is that you get that undo up to at least 100. Next, I'm going to come in here and this right here, keyboard shortcuts. So this is what I was talking about before. If you want the space bar to start and then stop where you ended, then you would set that up in here. You could go to the specific type of thing. So like that would be under transport. And you can see the shortcuts that are already in existence are right here. But if you wanted to change anything, then you could click on that and just press the button. If I wanted the button G, I would come to the shortcut key, hit G, and now the shortcut key says that if I hit G at any time, it's going to play pre-roll and selection. I don't really care for that to be the shortcut, but that's going to be helpful for you as you get going. So if there's something that you're noticing that you're doing a whole lot, like copy paste. When people do copy paste, everybody knows it's pretty standard in most softwares to do a Control C for copy and a Control V for paste. So look, sure enough, Control C is a copy. And I'm sure Control P will be a paste. So you can use those types of, oh no, see they've got Control V. And that's not something that I would typically do. I would do Control. Oh, nope, that is Control V. You're right. So you could go through and you could set different things. I left this all as the way it comes when you first install it so that there won't be any confusion as we go through the tutorials. To set up the project, I've already loaded these things. You can see it's untitled right now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this session as, and I'm going to make sure that I'm saving it on the F drive, which that's the F drive on my computer. On your computer, it might be completely different. It's basically the flash drive that I put in, the Oy con Dios. I'm going to click on that. Save all translation files. I'm going to save this in here, and I'm going to save this as Who is Jesus? Save copies of all. So nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hit save. And now this is, you can see up at the top here, it's saved as Who is Jesus. This stuff that I've loaded will load when I load the file the next time, when I open up the session file. I'm also going to come in here and I'm going to import the Spanish version of the Who is Jesus, which is not one file, but this is 10 files. And it's going to take a moment to load all of those. And while that's doing that, I assume that's doing that. Oh, it's not going to load those because it does not like MP4. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to convert those real quick so that you have them. In WMV is a great way to go for Audition. So I'll be doing that in a moment. In the meantime, what I will do is I'll show you that this is the video file and this is the full English version. Now I'm just going to drag this to the timeline and you're going to see that it opens up a video window. And you see that it's got this black file up at the top. This track says video. So the way that I like to do this, and you can modify your screen setup however you want. If you click on the top left corner of that tab and you hold that down and you move it around, you'll notice that it starts bringing up all these purple windows. If I drag this while I'm still holding the left mouse button, if I put it here, it's going to put it within this window. So I've got a main window, I've got a mixer, which is just the main mixer for all of those different tracks. So all of these that you see here are just put in a vertical column form here. And then I've got a video, and it's just needing to update there. If I were to move my mouse to here and start to hit play, you'll see it's playing. There's no audio. If I go to video, in theory, that would be playing there. So that's what that does if I go there. But if I click that again, if I put it where it's got a purple on top like that, it's going to separate this whole window out and make that on the top. My personal preference is to put it on the side. Got my main window there. I've got my video there. And you can click and drag just by going to the center of those two where you've got the two lines and the two arrows. And you can click and drag, and it will auto size that window to work for you. Once you get all this stuff loaded on the left side, you can do the same thing here. Click and drag and give yourself the space that you feel is necessary for this project. I don't need all of this quite as big, so I'm going to shrink that down some. Even your audio meters, if you want, you can shrink that down some. And just gives yourself a little bit more space to work with your tracks, because you're going to be needing quite a bit of space. Once you get done with that, Audition should go ahead and save that as the last way that you were in the software. But you can always go through and click Save Session, and it's always going to save to that same place. If you really want to make certain, you can go to Workspace, Window, Workspace, and you can create a new workspace and title it whatever you want, however you once you get your whole windows and everything set the way you like. Now I loaded this English version here. I'm going to just put Who is Jesus video. Just titling that at the top left there. And I'm going to right click, and I'm going to move that all the way to the far left so that it's at the very, very beginning frame of my project. Then I'm going to drag the Who is Jesus English audio, and I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to drag it all the way to the left so that it's lined up. So this right here is not playing, and I don't know why. By the way, I have this, it defaults to do this, but you want it to be low quality in the video so that you don't run into resolution problems or it bogging down, making your computer very slow. Then I'll figure this out in a moment. I'm going to take the Who is Jesus M&E, and I'm going to drag that over here also. And just the same way, I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to drag it all the way to the left. But because I was zoomed in, left is a long way away. Zoom out, all the way to the left. Now when you're clicking and dragging, it's easy to put it on a different track. I want it to be on the one right below. And then lastly, I'm going to take the, well, the no English is not a big deal, so I'm going to leave that off. So then I'm going to title these, just so that it's clear once we get going. This is the WIJ, Who is Jesus English. This is WIJ M&E, Music and Effects. I can then click and drag and shrink these windows if I want to shrink these windows. And that just allows more space down here. Now you'll notice that there's only 6 tracks available here. I can go in and I can go to Edit. Sorry, let me see where it was. Insert, Add Tracks. So Insert, Add Tracks. And I want to add, we'll just go ahead and add 15 audio tracks. And I'm going to go ahead and place them after the last track. And now I have a lot more audio tracks there. You can keep adding tracks and keep adding tracks, and that will be a good way to go. So now I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to say, we'll just say the translation, or we'll just say good. So that'll be our good tracks. Whenever we get one that we want to use on our English or our translation project, we'll use a good one, and we'll drag it up there. Once I get the Spanish ones loaded, I'll load the Spanish into the project as well. For this video, though, I mainly wanted to show you how to go about setting up your Adobe Audition project file, how to save it all, and make sure that all is good. I'm wondering right now if the reason why my video is not showing up is because it doesn't like the if it doesn't like playing that from the flash drive. And so if that's the case, I may end up dragging the video to my desktop or to my actual internal hard drive. We will see. But for now, yeah, it's probably going to be the same situation. One thing that I want you to notice is that you can see the waveform on these things. So I'm just zooming in and out, and you can zoom in pretty close, and you can see the actual waveform. And if you extend these, then you can see it even closer. That waveform is going to be very helpful as you get going to just be able to identify and recognize what's going on, because you can quickly and easily see how long somebody takes to say a specific phrase, and you can use that waveform as your guide. So it's very helpful. So with that, I'll go ahead and I'll save this project for now. Yes to all, because we tried to do some recording. Actually, we didn't do any recording. Let's do some recording real quick. I want to point out, by the way, since I'm going to record, I'm going to mute these, although I don't have to because it's in my ears. This button here, the R, that's to record. So this is going to talk about what recording device you have used, what you've got set up. I'm just going to hit OK on that and show you one of the problems that we might run into. Once I hit the R and that's selected, if I hit the record button down here, or you can go through and you can create a shortcut in the keyboard shortcuts to actually start recording instead of having to go down to that button down here. You hit record, and right now I'm just going to start talking, and you can see, I'm going to zoom in while it's recording, you can see the waveform of my recording as it starts entering into the computer. So I'm going to hit stop now. Now let's go and let's listen to that. That doesn't sound very good. And a big part of the reason why is because we never set up what microphone we want an Audition to actually use and what speakers we want Audition to use. So right now, Audition is just using my on-computer microphone and my computer speakers. And so that's going to be a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up, we're going to go to Edit, Audio Hardware Setup, and we're going to see that it's got multi-track, which is where we're at. We want to click this Release ASIO driver in background, Control Panel, and in the Control Panel, it's got all these options. These options might be different on your computer than they are on mine. This is basically showing the options that can be selected based on the hardware that you actually have plugged into your computer or within the internal parts of your computer. So I know that my headset is this Logitech here. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to turn off those speakers, and I'm going to select the microphone down here and turn off the microphone inside the computer, and then I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to hit Apply, and now I have set my Audition to take my headphone that I have, my headset microphone that I have, and use that for the recording. So I can keep that, or I can delete it, or I can record on a whole different track. Now if I touch this track down here, this is the track where it wants to go, but I have to enable this R in order for it to record. And I'm going to turn it off up here for right now. So now we're recording, and we're recording. And right now, I'm just going to start talking, and you can see. I'm going to zoom in while it's recording. Next track. You can see the waveform because I did not mute this. I'm hearing this in my ears. Starts entering into the computer. Stop that. So I was hearing this track in my ears while I was doing this track, and that's beneficial if it was the music and effects that I was listening to, but because it was another version of my talking, it was obviously going to be different. So now let's solo this out.
So now we're recording, and we're recording specifically.
So that sounds a whole lot better than this one did. And right now, I'm just going to sound pretty bad because my voice sounds pretty bad right now, but you get the idea of what we're talking about. Some of the stuff that you're going to want to make sure that you note is how your voice sounds, the different ways that you're, where you're placing the mic, the room that you're in. You don't have to go through some, big process to create some super expensive recording room, but you should be aware of your surroundings. So right now, I know that in this room, not only am I sick, but there's a drum set not far from my mouth, and so that drum set picks up my audio, my voice bounces off the drums, and so it creates a little bit of an echo. The room I'm in creates a little bit of an echo, and the microphone location to my mouth. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to record a few different things real quick and show you some differences. So right now, I have these all muted, so I'm not hearing that. And if I get closer to the computer, there's going to be a bounce of my voice off the computer itself back into the microphone. That's going to sound one way. If I step further away, there's going to be a different echo because my voice can travel throughout the room freely. I have a blanket here, and I'm going to take this blanket, and now this blanket, I have it over my head, and I'm just talking into the blanket basically, like I'm playing hide and go seek or something. I'm literally under the blanket talking into the microphone, and it has a completely different sound than just a moment ago because the blanket traps the sound. I have seen some that have created sound rooms using bed mattresses, using foam, using egg crates. I did a quick search, and you can see here's some that are using just a actual mattresses standing up. This here is an interesting thing. They just took some foam and they put it in almost like a little cube fabric thing and put the mic inside of that. And it's much cheaper than trying to put that much foam in an entire room. Here's a cheaper version of it. Some people use insulation foam. Some people use egg crate or like a mattress, a bed mattress cover that goes on the bed. This one here has got no top. It's just a wall around it. And I'm just trying to give you an idea that you don't have to create an entire room. You need a place for the laptop. You need a place for the speaker and the microphone. And it doesn't have to be too fancy. This is just blankets. It's also important the proximity of where the mic is to your mouth. So if your mouth is real close, by the way, when I clicked off of Audition, it stopped recording. So if your mic is too close to your mouth, it's going to record all of the popping from the P's, and the S's are going to get into it. And it's going to be more bassy because it's closer. If it gets a little bit further away, there's going to be a different tone to it as well. So you'll want to make sure that you have an idea of how things are sounding. It's always good to test. Go back and listen to that.
Created sound rooms using bed mattresses, using foam.
So I started in the middle.
I have these all muted, so I'm not hearing that.
Hear this right now.
And if I get closer to the computer, there's going to be a bounce of my voice off the computer itself back into the microphone. That's going to sound one way. If I step further away, there's going to be a different echo because my voice can travel throughout the room freely. I have a blanket here, and I'm going to take this blanket, and now this blanket, I have it over my head, and I'm just talking into the
So
blanket, basically.
I don't know if you
like
can hear
I'm
this or not
playing
with the
hide and go seek
screen
or
capture
something. I'm
software.
literally under the blanket talking into the microphone, and it
The
has a
screen
completely
capture
different.
software that I have going on right now. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but just putting the blanket over my head, it changed the tone completely of the recording, and it sounded much, much better. Obviously, if you do that, it's important that you don't make noise with the blanket itself. Even things like the cable hanging off of the computer, that can knock and stuff on the table, or rub on your clothes if your microphone's too close to your clothes. So just make sure that you're aware of the location of your microphone and how things are working on that. So with that, I think I've explained the basic setup of the software. Let's go back real quick, and since you saw us record those things, I'm going to go ahead and save this project real quick. Save session. I'm going to say yes to all. It's saving them all in the same place. And because I titled this good, when we did the recording on that track, it titled that recording good because it was from that track of audio. So you can see how that says good. Then if I would recommend the possibility of titling some of these other tracks, you can use whatever terminology would be helpful to you. You can say, I'm saving all the files. You can say take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4. You can say, version 1, version 2, and just title that whole track that. And then as you record, it's going to record that title as the title of the file, which can be very helpful. So if you've got a character, if you're doing the narrator, you can title this whole track narrator if you want. Or if you want to break it up differently, you can, break it up differently. But title those tracks so that it titles your files as you record. You'll want to title those before you do all your recording so that the recordings are saved with a little bit more organization. Because as you go to work with the files down the road, if everything is untitled, then it's going to be very, very difficult to work with. So you can see this is called track 5. Also, I want to note, right now it says not responding at the top, and you see that blue circle going around. Sometimes it might seem like that's going to go for a while, and that could just be because the computer's working. Don't panic when that happens. Make sure that you let it do its thing, give it some time. Most of the time it's going to come back from where it was. But if for some reason it doesn't, hopefully you're saving enough. You want to save all the time, because you never know if something's going to crash. I'm going to zoom in here. You can see that I'm just going to use my arrow key to go over. So this is titled good _001 because that's the first recording I did on this track. This is called track 4 _002. That's not very clear, but because I didn't change the title here, it stayed saying track 4. And so we want to make sure that we're labeling these and using them as clearly as we can. So it's all saved up. Let's go down here and look now in the files. Go to the Hoy con Dios folder, save all translation files, and it saved everything that we've been doing right here. Don't worry about what all the titles of everything are. The point is it's all been saving here. These are our recordings, good, track 4, track 5. And so all those recordings are saved in one place, and it keeps everything very organized. So that's why it's so important to make sure that we're doing this. For the next video, I'm going to go ahead and try and move the videos to a different folder and see if that helps us so that everything works a little bit better. So just to recap, I will be going back through again. If you need to get a hold of me, if this is your only time to watch, You can go to YouTube. Well, you can email me, josh@crosstalk.org, youtube.com, search Joshua D. Weiss, or you can do youtube.com/scrapper24. That brings you to my videos. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/Joshua D. Weiss. On Twitter, it's Joshua D. Weiss, the number 1. If you happen to use Periscope, I didn't say this earlier, but if you happen to use periscope.tv/Joshua D. Weiss, you can go to the blog, joshuadweiss.com. LinkedIn is linkedin.com/n/Joshua D. Weiss. And I would love for you to go visit and follow me on Instagram, instagram.com/Joshua D. Weiss. With that, I will say goodbye, and I will try to get another video uploaded shortly. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.